So this is a bit of a different setup. Today I'm actually going to be starting my first ever sort of proper tier list. This is the first in the series and we are going to be looking at the MCU Phase 4. So if you do go on to enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more. I really like Marvel, however unfortunately Phase 4 just hasn't hit the same as the other phases have, and it just feels like it's fallen a bit flat. Or even a good analogy would be it kind of feels like a fizzy drink that has gone flat, because the substance of what you want is still there, but it just doesn't really hit the same, where it feels like it's missing something, or it just doesn't have that fizz that you need your drink to have. So let us begin with the first film of the MCU Phase 4 series, which is Black Widow, which is going to be put into the phased out section of this tier list, because Black Widow, it was, when I first sat down and watched it in cinema, that opening sequence, I genuinely thought like it gave me reminders of like Black Ops 1 sort of campaign style. Just like the sort of style of it, it really made me feel like shit, we're in for a treat with this film. And then the film happened and then it just kind of, it made you think, was this film necessary really? And first of all, Black Widow had already died in Endgame, so it kind of felt like, well, obviously they're trying to set up for Yelena, who is actually a major like win in this film. Like I feel like Yelena / Florence Pugh is like one of the highlights of Phase 4 and one of the like cast members who's gonna get me excited to see future MCU projects and can actually like carry a franchise on her back like Black Widow. But other than that, really, I don't feel like that really needed a whole film for it. So for that reason, I'm not saying the film was terrible in any sense. I just don't think personally it was anything to stand out, or there's not much to really remember about the film. Unfortunately, it was left just something that I'm going to forget and kind of forget that it was made a film. It should be made in Phase 1, and it wasn't. So we got it in Phase 4 after the death of Black Widow for some odd reason, but it's there. We're then going to go over to WandaVision being the first Disneyplus show. Now this one for me, I feel like was a real big thing at the time, but now it's had some time to sort of just mature or whatnot. I'm going to say that it is a respectable show. Now, actually, you know what, screw that. I'm gonna put it in good tier, because actually thinking about it, there was also the emotion and the character development of Wanda, and it kind of felt like the first thing that we were getting to see that kind of showed something like drastic that had happened in a film like Endgame, and actually getting to see some repercussions from a major event like that. WandaVision was such an amazing breakdown of the character of Wanda and really set her up to like basically make her a fan favorite as well. And on top of that, just the style of each episode, it made each episode feel fresh and unique each time you watch. And like I remember as they were coming out, it was kind of like, what are we going to get this week, what are we going to get next week? And the way they paid homage to previous TV shows, I felt like was really well built in. And sure, I feel like the end of it, I think some people got really caught up in Doctor Strange is going to appear in it, Mephisto's going to be something. I feel like that was part of the excitement of the show though, having some of those theories going around it, and I feel like there hasn't been anything like that for as many of the other shows or any of the other films recently. But WandaVision was really where the fandom really kicked in a lot more and got people excited about the MCU, and I think it really kind of like, it made people excited to see what they were going to do on the TV side of Marvel. And how about we stick with that and go with another really good TV show, which I'm going to make Loki, and that is going to go in the good tier, because for me, I feel like Loki, I put it above WandaVision, because I feel like there was just a lot more world exploring / universe exploring, and I feel like it really implemented a really nice storyline with Kang and being able to kind of introduce him into the MCU, as well as kind of just have the way it opened doors essentially. And if you were to look at, I think even believe Kevin Feige actually just broke down how the multiverse opened, which was through Loki essentially.
I mean, you know, there's always a method to the madness, even in the multiverse, and for the Marvel.com fans who know that Loki and Sylvie did something at the end of that series that sort of allowed all of this to be possible. He Who Remains is gone, and that allowed a spell to go wrong in Spider-Man No Way Home, which leads to the entire multiverse going quite mad in this.
I think Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson as like just casting and the chemistry between them, I think it just makes the show watchable just for them. On top of that, you had Sylvie, and I feel like with Sylvie, it's like her as a character, like especially with the MCU and what they're doing now, trying to introduce people and like trying to do the whole female version of a male character, this is one of the instances where it was done super well and kind of made you feel like this isn't just some person trying to be Loki. Obviously it is Loki, but a different, the whole multiverse thing, let that explain itself. But I never really found myself looking at Sylvie and being like, oh, it's just the female Loki, despite it being that. She felt distinct from who we know Loki to be. To me, Loki is definitely good, and I would definitely put it above WandaVision. Now, from talking about something good, I'm going to talk about something just abysmal and terrible, and that's Eternals. That's going in MC Screwed. Actually, this is the first MCU film that I didn't go to cinema to watch, at least in a long time. When I personally watched it, I just didn't really feel that attached to any of the casting. The chemistry between them always felt a little bit off, and I'm not gonna lie, when I watched this film and I finished watching it, I felt like they crammed a whole trilogy of films into one massive film, and I did not need 3 hours worth of Eternals. Like, I was genuinely feeling bored during it. It for some reason gave us Harry Styles as, I believe, Thanos' brother, which, okay. And for that reason, it belongs definitely in MC Screwed for me. So what do I pick next to rank? I think I'm gonna go for a little bit of Shang-Chi, and this for me, I'm going to put in goated, because this actually felt like the first proper MCU film within Phase 4. This one, it kind of felt like it had great casting choices. There was great chemistry in the film. I know some people feel a certain way about Trevor, but I feel like he perfectly played his role in this film. It wasn't overplayed. And again, it kind of felt like that similar thing of what Black Panther did, the original one, where it was kind of like introducing a different culture and introducing different side of characters and a new part of the world to the MCU. That was what this did in the more Asian sort of territory of things and the culture of there. So it felt like really good to see that side of it come out in the MCU. I would say this is like one of my favourite third act battles in Phase 4, because it was quite imaginative, especially using the dragon within there. And also I feel like just the whole kind of like the father-son thing and just kind of the acceptance of his dad and just sacrificing and realize like everything what he was doing was really wrong, and kind of being able to give up his immortality for his mortality, if that makes sense. Like, it was just one of the better films in the MCU Phase 4. I guess I gotta talk about She-Hulk a little bit, because I'm not actually going to put this completely in MC Screwed. I'm actually going to put it into Phased Out, because it's going to be forgotten. It's not going to be something that people will really think about and be like, yeah, gotta go back and rewatch that. But there were definitely moments in the series that were really experimental with the MCU. I think the main bit, spoilers, but the very final episode where she basically breaks the fourth wall completely and just goes to the Marvel offices, I generally felt like that was a great addition to kind of see in the MCU and kind of play around with. But unfortunately, it just didn't hit that mark. And one of my biggest problems with that scene is the fact that they call out every like problem they have, but instead of actually addressing it and doing something about it, they just think saying what the problem is and not fixing it fixes the problem. And it really irks me, that scene. So for that reason, I'm putting it in Phased Out, because it's not going to be one I come back to, and it's not going to be one that I'm really that all bothered about. Now moving on to another female-led Disney Plus show, we're actually going to talk about Ms.Marvel. And for me, Ms.Marvel is actually going to end up in Respectable. For me, I feel like everyone kind of has the sort of same thoughts towards Ms.Marvel, and that is that it's not made for me, but I can appreciate it. And it's just kind of that sort of cheesy teen kind of thing to watch, and overall I think it's a show which it does its job exactly what it needs to do, and for that I'm just going to say it's a respectable MCU Phase 4 TV show. Now, we've talked about a couple of films, a couple of TV shows, or Disney Plus shows, whatever you want to call them, but we haven't actually talked about any of the Disney Plus specials, and this is what I really wanted Disney Plus to really play around with, and we got two of them. The first one is in the form of Werewolf by Night, which I watched, and it was good. It kind of was exactly what I thought Marvel needed to do for kind of the Halloween special kind of thing. And for that, I'm going to say it's going to go in Respectable. I haven't got too much to say about it, and we're actually going to put it just above Ms.Marvel, actually. But the second special I've got a couple more, like, just thoughts about it. And it's going to be the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. And I watched it, and I kind of had fun with it, but at the same time, it kind of felt like, I don't know the nicest way to put it, but it kind of feels like they took the cheapest two actors of the Guardians of the Galaxy cast and gave them their own standalone short film. But because it kind of just felt a little lackluster and didn't feel like it was a full-fledged Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, or it didn't feel like they were involving it as much as they could have, I'm gonna say it's a phased out MCU Phase 4 special. I really want to see more of the stuff like it though. I love the concept of having like a Marvel special. I think it's what Disney Plus is made for. Alright, so again, kind of following the theme of the Guardians of the Galaxy thing, MC Screwed, I'm going for I Am Groot, because who asked? Okay, so the next film I'm going to move on to is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, sorry. And for this one, I'm going to say it is a good film, actually. So it's just in between that gap for me of respectable and good. And I think the reason why it wins the good tier is because it plays around with so many elements, especially horror elements, that we have just not seen in the MCU. That whole moment where we get the Illuminati and Wanda just goes on a tear is probably one of the best scenes in the MCU of just, okay, shit just hit the fan. It really gave Elizabeth Olsen even just a chance to really show her range, especially following on from WandaVision, and give her a way to embrace acting as the villain for once in a film, which I feel like she really just nailed, and she really felt like a real threat within the film. We also have American Chavez in the film, who I feel like was introduced quite well, and actually, you know what, I feel like that's exactly it with this film. I feel like when you call a film Multiverse of Madness, we got that really good like little montage of going through different like multiverses. However, that was about it. That was about as much madness in terms of the multiverse that we really got. It kind of kept these two different multiverses, and that was that. But it was a good watch, and it was something new, I felt, to the MCU. Hawkeye, that's going to be the next thing we talk about, and that for me is going to go into the respectable tier. It's nothing too crazy. I feel like this was kind of the first kind of MCU Christmas thing, and it was good. It was a good watch. I feel like for me, the highlight of the show is Kate Bishop and Yelena kind of meeting, and the chemistry between them incredible, and kind of my favorite bits to watch. But again, it's Hawkeye being Hawkeye, and that's about that. Right, now I feel like this is going to be the final MC screwed thing that I'm going to put into this tier, and that is What If. To me, I feel like this could be argued as the worst, but I'm still going to put Eternals above it. Obviously, it's completely different. It's completely different to what Marvel usually does in terms of a project. It's animated and whatnot, so it comes with a different expectation of what you want to see from a project like it. Now, for me, it feels like they completely just went off the whole point of what if means. So when I first heard about this project, I thought what was going to happen is we were going to get, let's say 12 episodes, and they were going to go for film by film basis. So say for example we were going to get an Avengers What If, where it would be, say, what if the Chitauri actually won the Battle of New York. Stuff like that, where it actually goes to the film and just makes a what if scenario of if something else had happened within that film. Unfortunately, that wasn't really what they went for. They just kind of went for, what if we just did this? But I feel like there's more interesting things you can delve into whilst actually still picking up what we've seen in the MCU. And I just felt very let down by What If, and overall it felt odd. But okay, actually, was that going to be the final MC screwed, or am I just going to put this in a different one? Because we have Thor Love and Thunder, and as much as I'd hate to say it, I'm going to put it in MC screwed. Yeah, I feel like the way they treated this film was just, all the actors, all the cast, directors, Taika Waititi obviously, and producers just kind of went in and was like, we're just going to have a laugh with this film, we're just going to go in, have some fun, make some money, and that'll be us wrapped. And there was one, I thought they would get, the way the film was going, I generally felt like they were going to do this whole thing where they overplay the whole like really just silliness and just kind of goofiness of the MCU, and for a really emotional moment to take in, and then the film goes down this like whole darker path or something. And that moment happened, which was the bit where basically Zeus just turns around, tells him to F off, and then kills Korg nearly. That point in the movie, I genuinely thought was going to be the game changer of what really made this film special. But instead of going for an interesting storyline, they just decided to go for the whimsical adventure with the magic Viking alien. Okay, so moving on from that, we are now going to go for Moon Knight, which I feel like was one of the more, again, kind of more experimental sides of the MCU in this phase, and for me, I feel like they did really good with it, so it's going to go in the good tier. I'm going to put it above Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because for me, I feel like Moon Knight, it really was able to play off the whole schizophrenic sort of character and be able to really show those sides really well. Even though saying that, again, this is where the whole Phase 4 issue comes in. They do something really well, but then they kind of drop the ball somewhere within it, which then makes you feel like, oh, it's not as great as it could have been. And that is that third act. Like, it escalated to the point of having two giant Egyptian gods fighting in the sky, to then also then having Mark basically just black out, and then I think Jake comes out and then sorts with everyone else. And now I think of it, that's two instances where the MCU has just gone, everyone complains about our third act sequences, okay, let's set one up and then skip it. because they did that in She-Hulk as well. But I feel like the character journey that went on in that show was really well done and quite fun to watch and see. Okay, and now we have the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and for me, part of me even wants to put it at the top of respectable. However, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put it at the bottom of good. The reason for this is, again, it really set a tone with the MCU and delved in some interesting storylines, like for example the Black Captain America, and exploring something that would have happened in real life, for example, of kind of building on true traumas that had happened in real life. So I think an example of this is actually Women, where you had Florence Nightingale and Mary Seacole. I believe that's how you say her name, but it's like that sort of thing that has happened in history and then applying it to the characters of Captain America using, can't remember the dude's name right now. That exploration of the story I really enjoyed, but I think the highlight of the show really is the bromance of Bucky and Sam Wilson. I feel like that was a really good element of the show, really built it up. Downside of the show, which really makes me want to bring it down to the whole respectable tier, is the fact of the flag smashers. It just didn't really feel like they were really needed. However, it did give me one of my favorite images and stills of the MCU, which is Captain America with blood on the shield. And by Captain America, I say that lightly because he's not properly Captain America, but what's his name? John something.
And his name is John C.
John Walker. John Walker as Captain America with blood on the shield. That was one of my favourite stills and images of Phase 4 and in the MCU in general. So for that, and all the other reasons I mentioned, Falcon and Winter Soldier is going in good just. Now, there are 2 more projects in here, but I'm going to have to unfortunately say that Black Panther is not going to be on my list right now. I know you're making a tier list and you haven't even watched all the films, but Black Panther I didn't get a chance to see yet. It's not out on Disneyplus yet. So for now, Black Panther is not going to be ranked on this list. However, we do have one more that is definitely going to be ranked, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home, and you can already tell where I'm going to put this, and that is in GOATed. This is the best film of Phase 4, and if Phase 4 was terrible and we didn't get all the amazing projects that we felt like we deserved, at least we got this one. Now, granted, people have issues with the sort of the first act of this film, and personally for me, it doesn't gripe me as much as I think other people do. It feels very typical MCU sort of style. However, the way it kind of phases out into building into this whole story of using the other 2 Peter Parkers to actually build our Peter Parker's story, I think is amazing. The death of Aunt May, it makes for an incredible story and just feels like it gets Spider-Man to where he should be. But this film for me, I really enjoyed it. You already know why. I don't know why I need to even really go that deep into it. Just having Andrew Garfield there, almost on his redemption arc, proving why he's so good at Spider-Man and didn't get the chance he really deserved to show how good he really was during those whole Sony films. And I'm glad he got some actual good reputation from it as being worthy as a Spider-Man. And Tobey Maguire, it was good to see in the suit again. And yeah, maybe the story needed to be a bit well written at the start there, but I think it was fine. It got us to where we wanted it to be. The moment I was in cinema and seeing that, it just felt like I had achieved everything I needed to achieve at that point. So for that reason, Spider-Man No Way Home, it is GOATed. So there you have it. That has been my first tier list video that I've done. Let me know what you thought of it. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Leave a comment. Let me know your own tier list of this and how you rank Phase 4. What are your thoughts on it in general? Everything like that. Go in the comments. Let me know what you thought of it. Or better yet, even if you want to actually make your own tier list using this one that I've used, I'll leave a link to it down below. But if you also, whilst you're looking at that link, look at my Discord link, you can basically go over to the Discord, join it, say hello to the rest of the community on my channel, as well as also you'll find a tier list channel in Discord that you can basically upload your own image of your own tier list to, and you can get some debates going within the community itself there. So make sure to do that if you do make your own tier list, and that way it actually gives me a better chance of seeing how you ranked it. And hey, feel free to give me suggestions of what other tier lists you want me to do in the future. So yeah, for now, I've been Rodriguez-Dolman. That has been my tier list of MCU Phase 4, and I shall see you in the next video.
I like the ain't concerned with how you eat. It sure is if you want it, but it's more than just believing. Fall down and rise again if you're planning on completing. You want them feeling proud when they are grieving. Don't believe it. Maybe it will happen in another life, in another time. Clearly it was never mine. No, what? Never mind. At least I tried. That's something I can say when I die. Unlike the people who had dreams and let them die of